Hello, hello, welcome in. The Power Fuels hat on today because this is going to be a powerful, I was almost going to say show, but this isn't a show. The word show doesn't do it justice. Hi, Jody. This is more than a show. Just going to slap a title on this. We'll get down to business. This is Saturday. Happy Saturday, everybody. Thumbnail perfect. Yeah, buddy, you're not helping. Thirty more seconds. All right, let me give that a try. Just see here. Oh, I guess I should make a post too. Yeah. Yeah, I'll make a post here just so people know we're live. Good enough. All right, let's check the sound here. Hopefully the wind isn't going to cause too much of an issue. I got a big wind baffle set up here. So yeah, the microphone seems to be going all right. Let me know if the sound sucks. I'll have to figure out something else. Anyways, I hope you got your favorite beverages. I got coffee, tea, water, and of course the old faithful Dr. Pepper. And the old faithful cat pepper. Always got to help out on YouTube's. Right on, buddy. Anyways, I have a top 10 list for y'all tonight. It's a music top 10. I think it's going to be really fun. So just give it a couple minutes as well as people trickle in. I've got some updates on my living situation, which I'll do after the music discussion. Maybe we'll carry on talking a little bit about AI music, the whole AI trend a little bit, tie that in together. And then at the very end, I got a few comments to make about Elaine Meyer's situation and some of the other stuff that some of the people following this channel may be interested in. Others, if you're just here for the music content, I'll be putting this up on the music mentality playlist. But I'll let you know when we're drifting off into other topics besides the music stuff. And yeah, the other day I was sharing with you guys, it was a pleasant surprise that I was getting a bunch of subscribers as a result of a video I did several months ago on Andy Edwards, my reaction to Andy Edwards, and I guess people are migrating over from his channel, so anything with his name on it is like a golden ticket. And yeah, even this week there's been, or this weekend, when did I did a live like Wednesday night or Thursday night, and there's a handful more subscribers with just people checking out the older content, so I find that really interesting, to say the least. But anyways, let's maybe dive right into this. And by dive, I mean creep our way slowly into the pool, testing to make sure the water is not too cold. Oh, Savannah Bananas are playing right now. And Clash with Bow is on right now, or is it Smurf Watch? I don't know if you guys have been watching the Bad Badger broadcast, but there's a new live stream that he's covering called the Prison Stream, and it's a bunch of kick streamers vying for $50,000. I think there's 7 inmates, and they all got their own live channels on Kick. I've never used Kick. I've never been on it. But the host of the Prison Stream is a Kick streamer as well. And the premise is it's kind of last man standing. They set up an artificial prison environment, and the goal is to pit the prisoners, the inmates, against one another until there's only 2 left, and then they kind of decide who wins. And it all seems very scammy and possibly illegal. It just, it's not the greatest content, but the chat on these streams are pretty funny. So Bao is restreaming that, and so I'll be checking that out later on. I don't encourage you to go check it out, but that's what I've been up to. That's the best I got. That's the most productive use of my time, apparently. Anyways, probably should have stayed away from this coffee. Has anybody ever actually OD'd on coffee on camera? I might be dangerously close. But anyways, let's begin. The top 10 music nicknames of all time. Rock and roll music nicknames. And this is an interesting concept. I don't know if Andy Edwards has made a video like this. If he has, wonderful. If not, I wanted to beat him to the punch. And if he has, I'd probably go back and compare my list with his. But the catch here is I only have 6 names. And I want you, the viewers, to come either in the chat, if you're showing up during the live, or in the comments, give me your top rock and roll nickname by a performer. And because I've got my list here, and we're going to go through these 6. And I could probably dig up another 4, but for the sake of being interactive, I wanted to see and get some feedback, get some participation of your favorite or best, most powerful rock and roll nicknames. And before we begin with number 10, I guess on my list, or is it number 6? I'm going to include right now some honorable mentions of people that didn't make the cut, and give a little explanation why. Because there's lots of people that go by different stage names, like Freddie Mercury. He's not on the list. That's not his real name. It's a cool name. It grabs your attention, but that's not exactly a nickname. That's a name he took on. Um, Bonzo, John Bonham. I'm not including Bonzo because people know him as John Bonham. I mean, they refer to him as Bonzo, but he didn't actually like become Bonzo. Like, you may have an argument that he did, but John Bonham is not on the list as far as a nickname. Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy is not his real name. It's John. And so Ozzy's not on the list because that's really kind of obvious. Like, does it take a lot of imagination to look at your last name, Osbourne, and I'm in a rock and roll band? What sounds cool? Ozzy Osbourne. Like, it's got that alliteration to it. So Ozzy's not on the list. But at number 6, we are going to give the nod to Ozzy Osbourne's bandmate in the original Black Sabbath lineup. And my first rock and roll nickname is, of course, Geezer Butler. And Geezer obviously is not his real name. And I'm cheating here. I've got all these Wikipedia pages on these artists pulled up so I can refer to it. But Geezer Butler was born Terrence Michael Joseph Butler. So that's a far cry from Geezer. But from what I've watched online and from what's on the Wikipedia channel, it goes back to when he was a young lad in Birmingham. He's from the Midlands and in the UK there. Merry old England. Very much an English gentleman. Who wouldn't be with a name like Geezer? But the legend has it that as he was a young lad, maybe 12, 13, 14 years old, he had an older brother. And the slang of the day was to refer to people as geezer. And maybe people that are watching from the UK, you could let me know exactly the connotations of geezer. I'm sure it's in his Wikipedia page here of what that's referring to as you're passing by someone on the street. Is like, hey, you geezer. I don't know if it referred to like a working type man or just some bloke. I really can't say, but his older brother used this terminology, the slang, and the story goes that Geezer looking up to his older brother, he adopted that manner of speaking, and so he would be calling people geezer on the streets, like, "Hey, what's up, geezer?" I think we should probably adopt that in our modern vernacular. I can see that working. I wouldn't be offended if somebody referred to me as geezer. I'm starting to feel like a geezer. Here in North America, geezer means an old, kind of crotchety, elderly individual of the male persuasion. You wouldn't call a female a geezer here. A geezette? Geestress? I'm not sure. I'm being a little silly here, but Geezer Butler became his name through his career, and that's how he's known. Like, if you were to refer to him as Terrence Terry Butler, I don't think very few rock fans would know who on earth you're talking about. But you say Geezer, you don't even have to say Butler. People already know who you're talking about. So that's what makes this a great rock and roll name. Is that he became one with the nickname. And so there's my number 10. At number 9, I have Phil Taylor of the band Motorhead. And I'll just read you his Wikipedia, the first paragraph. Philip John Taylor, and it gives his birth date, better known as Filthy Animal, was an English drummer. He was a member of the rock band Motorhead. From 1975 to 84, and then from 1987 to 92. But I just love that first sentence. It gives his name, but he was better known as the Filthy Animal. And filthy is spelled Philthy, animal. And like, it's just so in your face. Like, it's so counterculture. Like, who would adopt that kind of a stage name? I'm a Filthy Animal, and incorporate your actual given name into it. There's a bit of like just poking it at the man. People, my perceptions of punk at the time were kind of a bunch of weirdos, and they just embraced that whole characterization to the point where the nickname actually became what some would consider pejorative, a downput, an insulting kind of name, like Filthy Animal. But if you're a fan of Motorhead, which I hope you all are, and are familiar with the music, like it just so fits appropriately with everything they were all about, and, which was, the sex, drugs, rock and roll, and just being a regular little filthy animal. So there's probably a lot more to say on that, but we're quickly running out of time. At number 8, I have the Ramones, the entire band. This is kind of, again, a bit of an offbeat, silly one, kind of thumbing your nose at the establishment. None of these guys were named Ramone until they became part of the band. And just running through the past members, you had Joey Ramone, Johnny Ramone, Dee Dee Ramone, Tommy Ramone, Marky Ramone, Richie Ramone, Elvis Ramone, and C.J. Ramone. So it wasn't a family that all adopted this music lifestyle and decided to market themselves, but it was this kind of punk thug New York street leather, ripped jeans, long black hair, sunglasses, major attitude, don't give a flying F kind of attitude. Did I say attitude twice there? And they just adopted this, like it became the band culture, which I find really interesting. And so maybe there's another example you can give, like the Monkees didn't change all their last names to Monkey or anything like that, but for the Beatles, it wasn't John Beatle and Ringo Beatle and whoever the other Beatles were. But the Ramones, like they totally became this thing which they created, and I just admire that creativity. I've never thought about a stage name for myself. I mean, I have no musical talent that I'd care to share with anybody. But these guys, they had a stellar career. the critics didn't really embrace them. The fans, you know, there's a following. There is a pioneering aspect in what they did, despite what anybody in the UK would say. Because at number 7, I missed one. I have 7. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I've got 7. This is what happens when you're completely prepared. My number 7 is somewhat compatriot with the Ramones. And it is the punk rock pioneer from merry old England named John Lydon, otherwise known as Johnny Rotten. John Joseph Lydon, also known, not better known, but also known by his former stage name Johnny Rotten, is a British-born singer, songwriter, author, and television personality. He's had an interesting career, but I've been watching actually some interviews when I see them pop up on my YouTube feed about John Lydon, and he was the guy that came out with the "I hate Pink Floyd" thing. Like he saw Pink Floyd as the rock royalty, the posh boys. They were out of touch with the working class. They were all, you know, privileged private school gentlemen. You know, the upper crust. Hey, Mike number 2, welcome in. You got here just in time. We're at number 7 on our top 10 greatest rock and roll nicknames. Speaking on John Nee Rotten, otherwise known as John Lydon. But yeah, the Sex Pistols were started, I don't know if I would say directly as a response to Pink Floyd, but as a response to the whole music scene back in the late 70s, where I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's, and I don't have direct quotes, but you get the sense, or at least he's communicating like he was not pleased with the sound coming out of the big record studios of the day. And so the punk movement and the Sex Pistols were a reaction to that. I guess it was somewhat of a response to how complex, you know, prog and rock music was getting, the virtuosity, which I appreciate. The complexity of music is not essential to make a good music. Just checking in with the chat. Mike has given us an update. Waiting on a military train. Mike's the train guy. So if you have any train questions, address them to Mike number 2. North Carolina Railroad. Oh, my eyes are so bad. Need more carrots. North Carolina Railroads 8768 is his channel. Drop him a line. Talk to him about trains and music. He's a big music fan as well. Where were we? Johnny Rotten and his attitude towards, you know, the music culture of the day. He wanted to democratize music in a way that I would say, you know, Bob Dylan may have, a decade earlier, or more than a decade earlier. In that it wasn't about the virtuosity and the talent per se. And I remember the Sex Pistols and the punk movement when I was growing up in school. Like, I drifted more towards the heavy metal side of things, you know, even the the new wave of British heavy metal with the Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and Def Leppard was really kind of the first British band that I encountered. But then, previously you had Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and all these pioneers. I was just being born at the time those bands were, or I was just being hatched, I guess, at that time. I came out of a pod, is what I'm told. And yeah, just memories back to my childhood. So. But the punk movement, that was in full swing when I was in what we call junior high school here in Canada. You might call it middle school, depending on where you are in parts of the world, but it's like grades 7, 8, 9, and then high school is grade 10, 11, 12 here. So we don't have designations like sophomore or freshman or senior or thing like that. You're either in junior high or senior high or high school kind of thing. But yeah, through junior high and high school, I remember seeing the punks walk around, and I thought these are the strangest creatures I've ever seen. And one of my things back when I was 12 years old was to go downtown, hop on a bus, go downtown, check out the record stores and the comic book stores, and come home with a load of treasures. And inevitably you'd go to the smoke shops or the head shops there, and or the magazine stands or the record stores, and they'd be blasting this punk music, and it's like, this is really like, do these guys even know how to play? Like, it's just a bunch of screaming and stomping, and like I get what they were doing now. Like, I have an appreciation for it now, but back then it was just, and then you see the people with the piercings and the hair, like green hair in 1984, like that was so countercultural. And we could thank not the Ramones for that. That was the Sex Pistols and the Clash and others. Like, we're not going to do a whole retrospective on punk music in this, but it's almost like they were flaunting their inability to produce pleasant sounds. Like, they were celebrating their ability to stir people up in whatever way possible, positive, negative, just to get a reaction. And I appreciate that. I think there's great value in just getting people's attention, snapping them out of the status quo. But back then, I just thought, what a bunch of freaks! Like, can't they just put on spandex, grow their hair long, and wear pink and sequins and studded bracelets like Twisted Sister, like normal rockers? But yeah, the punks, they were mysterious to me. But in hindsight, 40 years later, I'm growing an appreciation for what punk did for modern music, and the need for it at the time, and probably a need for a resurgence of something like that even now. But anyways, that's Johnny Rotten. Well, no, a couple more. Like, in watching Johnny's performances, I get the sense like I don't know if he's not aware of the lack of talent, or he's celebrating his lack of talent. I really don't know. And I don't want to cause a bunch of hate, although whatever. Send me your loving comments, send me your unkind comments. I read them all. Like, there was a talent in the concept he brought forth, but the performance, it was just like, screaming, gibbering, shouting, growling, kind of. It just didn't register with me. Whereas I liked, the high register of a Bruce Dickinson or a Rob Halford, or, that I could get behind, or the growl of a Kevin DeGrow, or just the straightforward tone of an Ozzy Osbourne. As a vocalist, Johnny Rotten still kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I see the need for what he did. But just the name Rotten, I'm gonna be that rotten artist that everybody loves to hate, and that's who I am. And deal with that. I love that. I love that snark. I love that. Uh, I don't know if you call it bravado, because now, of course, he's this English gentleman. He's in television commercials. He's promoting stuff that are mainstream. He's writing books. He's an accomplished author. Like he's not rotten. He's he seems like a decent guy. I might even like to sit down and chat with him, but it's like uh, I don't know. Give me your thoughts on Johnny Rotten. I think he's a very interesting character, and as far as top rock and roll nicknames, he's number 7. 1, 2, 3. We did 10, 9, 8, 7. At number 6. No, 10, 9, 8, 7. At number 6, it's another band. It's not just an individual. And it is Black Oak, Arkansas, from the US of A, otherwise known as the United States of America, otherwise known as America. And pulling up their wiki page here. Black Oak, Arkansas is, in fact, an American southern rock band named after the band's hometown of Black Oak, Arkansas. That's pretty profound. The band reached the height of its fame in the 1970s, charting 10 albums. Their style is notable for multiple guitar players and the raspy voice and on-stage antics of vocalist Jim Dandy Magnum. Maybe some of you are not familiar with Black Oak, Arkansas. You may have heard one of their bigger hits, Jim Dandy to the Rescue, and that's actually a remake. I don't think that's their song. I'm not going to look it up. But I'm just going to read through a paragraph or two, starting with their history. Black Oak, Arkansas, originally named the Nobody Else, was formed in 1963 by some high school pals living in the area around Black Oak, Arkansas. Now I'm going to read you down a list of some of the members that formed the band, and you tell me whether these guys rate to be the number 6 band or number 6 top rockin' nicknames or not. So original members included Ronnie Chicky Hawk Smith on vocals, Ricky Lee, alternately Risky or Ricochet Reynolds on guitar. So Ricky Ricochet Reynolds or Risky Reynolds on guitar as well. We have Stanley Goober Grin Knight on, I guess, third guitar. We got Harvey Burley Jet, so Burley being the nickname. On bass, Pat Dirty Doherty. I don't have the southern rhythm or drawl in my voice. Pat Dirty Doherty. That's how we'd say it in Canada. Doherty. Daugherty. Dirty Doherty on bass, and Wayne Squeezebox Evans on drums. So at some point, the band and Ronnie Chicky Hawk Smith agreed that a mutual friend named James Jim Dandy Mangrum would make a better frontman, while Smith agreed that he himself would make a better stage production manager. And there you have it. Like, we're not going to run through every one of those nicknames, but they're all absolutely epic, like stellar. If I had a band, it would be mandatory that we'd all have to come up with kick-ass nicknames like this. Like, this should be number 1, actually. Let me know in the comments if I got this out of order, but So that was number 6, if I read. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. At number 5, I have the artist that actually inspired this video. And this, I gotta credit Mike number 1, Mike Kane, who's usually in here. He must be doing something very important, possibly watching Banana Bowl. Oh no, that's actually, Dad is into Banana Bowl. Let's just see who's still here. I see Jody's still commenting. But the other day, Mike had again reminded me to check out Graham Parsons. And for those of you who are not familiar with Graham Parsons, he was an American artist, and he really pioneered the blending of country and rock music, folk, and for lack of a better label, I've seen what he pioneered called cosmic rock. I think that's pretty decent moniker, but very much country sound. And he started off really as a young man. You know, he was very musical. He actually had. I was watching the biography or the biography Fallen Angel that Mike had recommended the other night. I had a chance to watch it, and I've been checking out some other info on Graham Parsons. But yeah, very musical from a young age, talented to the point where he was able to get into Harvard to study music, but he kind of dropped out because he wasn't much of a student. But then began a music career which really took off. He had a band before the Byrds, but it was the Byrds that really kind of launched what was going on to catapult him to fame. Without going through his whole autobiography, I encourage you, if you're not familiar with the story, check it out. It is the wildest thing you ever heard. Spoiler alert, he dies of a drug overdose. He died in 1973 at a very young age. So. But not before making a huge splash. The number of songs that are written by Graham Parsons that you'd recognize, that don't realize are written by him, is you'd probably be amazed. But yeah, he kind of got his start with the Byrds. He replaced Crosby, I believe it was, and then kind of just took over the band as a 21-year-old. And as I was listening to an interview of Graham Parsons, he was talking back to those days of the Byrds, where he was still under contract with, I don't know, some record label, and he was cutting vocal tracks for the Byrds album Sweetheart of the Rodeo. And I gave that a listen to yesterday or the day before. Awesome album. The Byrds were very much a folksy rock band, and Graham took them like full country, a real country sound. And so at the time, like, people, it just blew their minds. They were not expecting this from the Byrds. You know, they were mainstream rock and roll, and this country thing just didn't wash. But in hindsight, you know, a very influential album as far as the impact it had. The interview I was listening to though the other day is you had Graham talking with Graham, G-R-A-M, talking to some radio interviewer, and he was reminiscing about those days of that recording of the Sweetheart of the Rodeo. And his really soft-spoken, kind of gentle tone. He was saying, like, yeah, we had done the recordings at Muscle Shoals, and then as it turned out, you know, the production crew, they got in there after, and you know, they started changing everything up, and you know, you were taking my vocal tracks off of some of the songs because I was still under contract. And when Skeeter Davis heard that, like she just got a hold of me and said, like, man, that's wild. And so like he's going on telling the story, and I'm like, whoa, Skeeter Davis, like what? That is an awesome name. Like I guarantee you that's not the birth name of this artist, but I don't even. I'm sure I've heard the name Skeeter Davis before, but I could tell you nothing about her. I couldn't tell you if it was a male or female. It turns out it's a her, and she was born Mary Frances Pennick. Is an American country music singer, songwriter, and I know nothing about her. And we're not going to do a whole biography about her career or nothing like that. But it's like, what a great moniker, Skeeter Davis. Like when Graham was saying this in the interview, like I didn't know if maybe he was tripping, hallucinating, like maybe he thought Skeeter was, maybe he thought it was a big mosquito. Like I don't know. The guy was really into his recreational substances there. But yeah, I had heard the name Skeeter Davis before, and that's what inspired this top 10 list. Is I don't know if Andy Edwards has done this. I'm gonna put out a top 10 list. And if Andy has done one, hats off to him. If he hasn't, well, then he can copy Brent Shimko and come up with his own top 10. So that's my number 5. I'm losing track so fast here. Let's see. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Skeeter Davis, number 5, on my top 10 greatest rock and roll nicknames of all time. So, otherwise known as Mary Frances Pennick. After this video is done, or after this extravaganza, it's not a show, it's not a live stream, it's the best thing ever. I'm going to check out Skeeter Davis and her career. Which brings us to my last entry at number 4, which is, of course, Ace Frehley of the band Kiss. And he was born Paul Daniel Frehley. But growing up, like there was something, like Kiss was really the first band I got really heavy into in grade 7 or whenever it was. I've told this story before. A friend of mine, he gave me a copy of Hotter Than Hell. It was all scratched up, nasty, and I played that over and over and over. And that was their second studio album. This was before they really got any traction, but there was just something about the raw sound and tone, and it was Ace that inspired me to want to learn guitar. Like I was familiar with some rock and roll acts prior to that, but Ace was the one that that caused me to want to focus on learning songs. And I mean, I didn't have any effects back. I just had this crappy old amp that my dad had. It was actually probably something that I could get some service out of, but I think my brother might even still have that thing. And it was actually, I think I had this old Epiphone guitar. It was like this hollow body electric guitar. Maybe it wasn't Epiphone. Maybe it was, I forget. That's going back a long time. I remember going to secondhand stores and pawn shops and buying these cheap guitars, just trying to be like Ace. But just that name. And the legend goes is that when he was a young lad in Queens, New York, or was it the Bronx? Doesn't matter. The Bronx. He was from the Bronx. He was a bit of a player with young ladies. And so he got a reputation with all his crew back in the day, and I guess with his talent to attract attention from the opposite sex, he got the nickname Ace, and that stuck with him. And incorporated into his stage persona, he became Space Ace. Uh, it was all over his branding, his marketing. It's just such a cool brand. Like, yeah, I'm the Ace. Like, I mean, if I had kids, I probably can guarantee one of them would have been named Ace if there were boys. At least a middle name for sure. I was gonna look up census and popularity of names and see how many aces are walking around. It's probably not a lot, but there should be probably a lot more if there were fans in the 70s. I mean, his career is still going. I wouldn't say going strong, but he's still plugging at it. He's got to be, well, he was born in 1951, so he's a geezer now. He's 74 right now, so he's still the ace, like he always will be. Uh, but yeah, whether it's a deck of cards, the the four aces on an album cover, or uh, just the name Ace Frehley, it just sounds so. It just rolls off your tongue, and so that's my number 4 pick. And so here's where you, the viewer, the participant, the rest. This is the rest of the story. I want to hear from y'all. Who would you suggest to round off the top 3, or to complete the top 10, in no particular order? So I don't know if Jody has a nickname, but if you're watching this after the fact, by all means comment. I'm really curious to give me the nickname and even a little story behind it. Like, why is the nickname meaningful? Why is it important? And because I could have spent all afternoon looking up nicknames, but these are the ones that just came to me. It's like, these guys, these need a shout out. These need a mention. Like, nicknames go with rock and roll. Like, we could sit here all day talking about nicknames. Uh, that's not the point of this, but I think these are some of the coolest. Tell me if I'm way out there or not. Uh, I guarantee you AI isn't gonna come up with any cool nicknames for itself. Like, this requires a humanity, a creativity, something I heard in an interview the other day, and the word was passion. Like, that's something that a computer is never going to generate. And I think all these people that we've mentioned tonight, pay tribute, give an honor tonight, there's passion in their art, in their musicality, in just the way they present themselves to the world. They're making a statement, and like, what is the statement of AI going to be? Is it the T2000? Like, passionate about what? Creating a hive mind mentality. Like, I don't know. I'm still just so down on this AI. Like, I'm not seeing it. But with that, I look forward to seeing your suggestions to round out the top 3 spots, because I left them open. I only gave 7 in this top 10 list, so you can maybe criticize me if I should have just called it the top 7. You can call me lazy for not doing all 10, but no, I really want to hear from you guys. I want your top nicknames. I want to I want to see if I done good, or if I missed some real critical ones here. I think I did pretty good. So yeah, that kind of ends the music mentality portion of this. I'm not going to clip this. We're just going to stick this all in the music mentality playlist as a top 10 list, even though it's top 7. So you get 7 for the price of 10. No extra charge. running into a lot of musical artists on Spotify that you never heard. Yeah, I think that's a cool trend. Like, you start, like on YouTube or TikTok or whatever your platform is, like you end up doing this doom scrolling. I don't have Spotify, but I imagine you just start looking at stuff that's interesting. And I do it on YouTube. There's stuff that pops up on the suggested videos or up next or whatever, and it's like, hey, this looks cool, and you find out it either is or isn't. But yeah, finding new music at whatever stage of life you're at, whatever age, I think that's a really neat trend, and maybe the streaming services are helping with that. I feel YouTube is really helping me out in that regard. That I don't have to go to either a used CD store or a record fair and plunk down $10 or $20 on some album or vinyl or CD or cassette tape. Take a chance. You can with a click of your mouse pad, you're listening to new and exciting tunes, and I think that's great. I love that. But the AI stuff, like I say, there's connotations there that are, I think, are gonna over time. Sorry about the gravelly voice. We got the smoke rolling in again. The wind is just howling out. That's not howling. It's a nice summer breeze. It's not a stormy breeze, but it's coming. Nice strong wind out of the north, and the smoke is starting to make its way back south here again. I was in Winnipeg, which is about 45 minutes north of here, and there was smoke like crazy. I couldn't believe it. It's nowhere near as bad here, but there's definitely a little bit of a haze forming. But it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so we all needed that weather update. The smoke is at we had some rain earlier, like on Monday. That really seemed to have quenched the fire, or at least the smoke. I don't know how the firefighting is going, but it's been really clear all week. Haven't been choking on the smoke. But it's definitely smoky just to the north of us here, which hopefully it doesn't make its way down here, or that we get a nice dump of rain tomorrow. And yeah, talking about AI, I think it just by degrees, like the frog in the boiling water. I think it's just going to diminish without you even noticing. Your creativity, it's going to, like, what it's doing right now is grabbing your attention as an individual, and it's catering to your individual wants, needs, desires, preferences. But I think over time, as you think, well, this is made for me, it's going to take all these individual nodes and focus them into kind of this one attitude. Like it's going to start you at one point, let's call it a position in your thinking, and by you interacting with it over time, I feel it's going to lead you away from where you used to have thoughts, preferences, ideologies, and it's going to take you, and I don't want to say it's going to spiral you downward, but it's going to rob you of your ability to think for yourself because you're relying on it so much. And you're going to be asking it questions because you don't know the answers anymore because you've either forgotten or you've lost the ability to find the information yourself. And so I think that's kind of an inevitable trend because, again, the programming behind it's not a consciousness on its own. There's software. Someone said the other day, wait until quantum computing overlaid with AI emerges. Like, I don't know much about quantum computing. I don't know much about AI programming or large language model programming itself. But that just doesn't sound cool based on the track record of the people in charge of these kind of technologies. not convinced they're all interested in what's best for you as an individual. It's what's best for all of us. We're all in this together, right? So in any case, what else? So yeah, there no extra charge for that little bit of AI insight. I kind of touched on that the other night. There's going to be more to say on it. Obviously, it's still developing. I just highly skeptical of a lot of these technologies. Maybe I'll get left behind. I'm okay with that. But yeah, we'll cut it there as far as music content and transition into just a brief update of what's going on with this property. And turns out it looks like I'm not going to be setting up any kind of farming on the next property. I think it's going to be a matter of sell this house and head out west. And by west, I mean like Alberta, British Columbia. That's something I've been wanting to do for years. I've always wanted to live in British Columbia. I don't know if it's pretty high cost of living there, but we'll see what kind of opportunities are out there. I don't want to telegraph all my plans, but a cousin of mine, I just saw at a gathering the other night. She said, "Yeah, we bought a property out so and so." I was like, "Yeah, I know where that is." And he goes, "Oh, you're welcome to stay with us if you're planning on moving out there." I was like, "Well, I'm not, but I think there's kind of a bit of a synchronicity." Oh yeah, I wanted to mention the synchronicity as well. Completely benign, inconsequential synchronicity, but yeah, it was sort of confirmation to me. Is like, yeah, people are kind of heading for the hills, literally, figuratively, not so figuratively. Like Manitoba is flat as a pancake, BC has hills and mountains, and it's like I've had a hankering to head for the hills for a long time, and I think this might be the time of it. So I'll give you the story of what's going on with the other property another time. I don't want to get into it, but I just wanted to give that update. The YouTubing will be hitting the road at some point, probably in the fall time. It might take on more of a van life kind of aesthetic, or possibly a homeless Karl Marx aesthetic. Yeah, and so I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll see if I can do, what is it, Saturday night. We've gone pretty much an hour here. I think that's good enough. I'll talk about Lane and stuff maybe tomorrow night. I got some stuff to do in the afternoon, but maybe let's regroup here tomorrow night, regather. Yeah, let's do that. Let's schedule it right now. So if you're still watching at this point, come back with your 3 nicknames. And for those of you following the Lane Myers story, there's stuff going on there. I haven't really said much on this channel about it. I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but I got some thoughts. And yeah, we'll reconvene tomorrow. You're welcome, and thank you for showing up. Your welcome was for that top 7 list that I gypped you out of 3 there, but that's okay, because you're going to supply the 3. So Sunday evening, same channel, more or less the same time, sometime in the evening, and we'll do this. All right, love you guys. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.